Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. There will be a button somewhere on your screen.
And massive thank you to our patrons on Patreon.
Click down the description box and check out our exclusive preferred retailers, Anderton's, Rift City Guitar and Pedal Empire.
And also thank you to everyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and checked out our stuff. Okay, today we're going to be checking out some volume pedals. What, why, how, where, who, when. I worked out something to do with my volume pedal that was very cool.
Okay.
When we were doing our gigs, and I wanted to show that, but I also wanted to show some volume pedal basics, where they go, why they go, how they go, the different sorts of volume pedals, etc., and when you might use them.
Interesting. This is going to be especially interesting for me, given that I've never used one.
Really?
For two reasons. One is I've never understood the difference between like a guitar pot value one and a non-guitar pot value one, because I found it changed the tone too much.
Sure.
So I guess we'll discuss some of that. Position on the board, as you said. So where it happens and how it can be effective.
Yes.
We've even got one set up on the loop of the Hot Rod Deluxe to talk about that, because we do get asked that a bit as well.
Yeah.
What about using a volume pedal in your effects loop of your amp?
Yes. Okay, let's dive in.
Nice.
I have, this is the Boss, it's a volume pedal. This is the high impedance one. They have an FVL, which is the low impedance, and the FVH, both FVH 30, FVL 30. So this is the FVH 30, which is a high impedance one. Right. Basically, if you see a high impedance volume pedal, if you're putting it at the front of your chain, if your guitar is going into it, you want it to be high impedance. That's the one that's going to have least impact on the tone of your guitar.
High impedance being what?
Okay, generally 500k. So
same as you'd get in the pot of a Gibson Les Paul.
Yes, yeah.
Most Gibson Les Pauls, for the pedants out there.
And
most proper Gibson Les Pauls.
So a 500k, it is. I mean, technically, when you put that in line with your Gibson, you still are going to get a little bit of what they call tone suck.
Yeah.
Because you've got a 500k pot going into another 500k pot, but it's going to be very, very, very slight.
Right.
If you're using single coils, however, it'll be basically transparent because of the different. Got 250k out here. The different impedances
250k in a traditional single coil guitar like these, 500k in most humbucker guitars.
Yeah.
And P90s.
Because the 500k, basically that means there's more resistance to ground, which means less signal flows to ground, which means less top end flows to ground. And the humbuckers typically you've got to be a bit more careful with the top end of those things.
Yeah, you need to let more high end through with a humbucker.
Exactly.
Whereas with a single coil, if you were to take this guitar and attach the 250k pots, you get this much high end. If you make it a 500k pot, you get this much high end, and if you put a 1 meg pot on there, you get that much high end.
Exactly.
And it just lets more through. As the Jazzmaster thing did briefly. Anyway, we're already on a tangent.
We're on a tangent. So if we're looking at having the volume pedal before everything else, there's a couple of reasons you might want to do that. So at the moment, I've got the volume pedal, and this is going into. So it's a really simple board today. We've got the Jam Rattler, we've got a Timmy, we've got a delay and a reverb.
2 overdrives, delay and reverb. What could be better?
Exactly. And that's going into
apart from 8 overdrives.
So we've got the Laser JJ20 and the Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. So together they just sound rustly. So set up really clean, reverbs on the amp, but loads of headroom there. Okay, now that's the volume pedal full on. If I engage the Rattler, so that's a pedal we're getting lots of gain from. If I have the volume pedal before the Rattler, what we're doing is, when Josh Scott was over.
Two honks there.
Yeah, that's right. So, and we're talking about overdrive pedals and how they work. Yep. And basically, you've got, a circuit slamming the front of another circuit, creating distortion. If I take the input signal that's going to the front of that rattler and I decrease it, what's going to happen is less compression in the distortion, and it's going to clean up. Okay, so if I reduce now, if I turn down the volume pedal, what you'll hear is, before the volume goes down, you'll hear the pedal start to clean up. Okay, so
it's not entirely dissimilar to turning the volume of your guitar down, is it?
no, but it is different.
Yes, it is different.
It is different.
It's funny, I was just thinking that. Just to explain for a second, even though the pedal is on over there, the other side of these pedals, if you had a traditional signal chain, you might think this is last in line, but actually the way G2 works means that Dan can position this volume pedal anywhere among these loops, and it is currently first in the chain, right?
Yeah, yeah. I will do some diagrams for this just to make it really easy. So easier to understand. But the interesting thing about this, if I turn the volume pedal off, actually what I'm going to do, let me just set this up. Boom. All right, so if I turn the volume pedal off and I turn the rattler on, and I'm going to use the volume pot on my guitar to clean it up, okay? The volume, if you're using the volume pot on your guitar, you get a little bit more top end.
It sounds like it sounds more like a guitar as you turn it down. The more you turn that down, it sounds less like a guitar and more like a bunch of rubber bands on a box.
There you go. There you go. So even though
why is that? Because there's a tone capacitor? No, because that's flat out, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's not
because
happening.
the pot on the guitar is this far from the pickups.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing to drive between here and there. But between here and the volume pedal, you've got a cable. The cable has all this capacitance.
Yeah.
All right, and the cable is loading the circuit as well. And so it's a different thing. This is why traditionally I've never used a volume pot in that position.
Yeah, so for everyone who goes, I can't be bothered to use this, or at least it doesn't suit me to use this, so I'm going to just use a volume pedal on the floor to do the same job. It's not doing the same job as we've got it now. So presumably this is a passive.
So this is a passive, exactly.
It doesn't have any, it's just a pot.
No shenanigans, it's just a pot.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay.
Now, if you put an active volume pedal in there, it is a bit sparklier.
Yeah.
You don't have the same sort of loading problems.
But you're also introducing some sort of buffer into your signal chain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's never simple. It's never simple.
It's
people.
never simple. It's never
easy.
simple. No. So, a lot of people don't like the buffer there, but a lot of people do. It can work really great for a lot of people. The buffer there, and there's lots of like the Lale volume pedal is just beautiful,
Right.
and has an amazing, very, very clean but neutral.
So all
buffer
volume
in there.
pedals aren't
No,
created equal
absolutely not.
as we would expect. But if you, so let's, I apologise if you're about to come onto this in a moment, but if what you want a volume pedal for is to turn your guitar up and down as a master volume,
Yes.
the place to put it is not right at the front of your chain.
Exactly.
Because all that will happen is you take all the gain out of your gain pedals.
Exactly. So with the volume pedal right at the front, as you bring that volume back, when that hits the gain stages, all you're doing is you are decreasing the input going into the gain stages, but because of the amount of compression that's happening in the gain stages, the output will stay high until the level at the input decreases to a point where it's completely cleaned up, it's not compressing anymore, and then that will come back down.
Yep.
Right, but you're getting gain decrease, gain decrease, and then the volume will come down.
Yeah.
All right.
Which could be useful.
Which absolutely.
If you want it to do that.
Yeah.
And you mess around with volume pedals and you find the one with the right value pot and everything, that could be a useful. If you really don't like using this, or it's uncomfortable, or it doesn't work, or your guitar doesn't have one.
Sure.
That's one option.
Absolutely, and you can do things like, if you find you might find a buffered volume pedal that works, and it will have less of that tone sucking type feeling on the input. And what I will do, once I've got another demonstration to do with this first. Now this is a buffered volume pedal.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put that in the loop, and we'll
have a listen
to that one.
Cool.
But I wanted to show you with the passive volume first, what happens with that, okay, and how different it is with what's going on here. Okay, so let's do the same thing, but now the volume pedal is going to be after all of the effects.
Yeah.
Okay, and now I'm going to turn on the Rattler. So the volume pedal has now become a master volume. Because it's after the gain stage, we're getting a complete decrease. So the output of the guitar is hitting the input of the Rattler in exactly the same way.
Yeah.
So it's creating all that gain. Now, also because the output impedance of the Rattler or anything that goes before it is going to easily drive that 500k pot, we're not going to get the same sort of suckiness.
Tone suck, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But you retain all your overdrive. Could you do us a favour a sec?
Yes.
Set it as it was before, pre-effects,
Yep.
with the Rattler on, and just get it to the point where it's kind of cleaning up a bit. Can
Okay,
you?
yes, no problem.
So that's with the volume pedal before the Rattler, and here it is with the volume pedal after the Rattler.
Right.
Same two pedals.
Same two pedals.
Exactly the same settings, exactly the same amps, exactly the same guitar. Very different outcome.
Very different. The level of gain going into the pedal is the same. The level of output distortion is the same, but we are now controlling that entire level of output, which is great. However, if we put the volume pedal after, let's get Timmy on for a second. We'll get a nice sort of it's such a great pedal and it has such a natural overdrive. So forget sort of a nice natural overdrive thing and put on a bit of delay and reverb with it. Now, because the volume pedal is after everything, again, if we look at our gain stages, going, you know, the Timmy going into the delay, going to the reverb, because the volume pedal is after the reverb, all that sound is created, that hits the volume pedal, and it brings the level of everything down. Which is cool, which might be exactly what you want. And in this case, then the volume pedal is working as a master volume on everything.
It's literally like turning, well, if your amp's clean, it's basically like turning your amp up and down.
Exactly, exactly. So, and while this is really good, it gives me a huge level of control, but what it doesn't allow me to do is the swell thing. All right, because if I'm going,
because it's cutting off all your delays,
because
and
it's cutting off
reverbs
all
as
the
well.
delays and reverbs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we get to the last one, which is actually having the volume pedal after the gain stages, but before your delays and reverbs.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So again, guitar into both amplifiers. If I get that same sound up, as I pull the volume down, the output from the gain stages is the master volume from that, but it stops the input. It stops the signal going to the input of the delays and reverbs, but it lets the tails of the delays and reverbs carry on.
And that's got nothing to do with your pedal having trails, because whether your pedal has or hasn't got trails, if it's turned on and it hits a volume pedal and you turn the volume pedal down,
exactly,
you lose everything.
Exactly. So now, even though the gain from the pedals is the same, as in the amount of distortion, I'm controlling the level that goes into the delay and reverb. So and if I turn the feedback and the mix on,
Awesome. Something malfunctioning there, Daniel?
there is some, yes, because right, this is the active volume pedal I was going to show you, and I've got that doing a very specific trick,
which we'll get to in a minute.
We'll get to in a minute. But I happen to knock it with my foot.
So we've basically got three positions for your volume pedal then. We've got right at the start of the chain, which decreases the gain into the pedals after. We've got right at the end, which is the absolute master volume.
Absolute master volume, controls everything.
Or we've got after your overdrives and before your reverbs and delays, which is enables you to do swells and keep the reverb and delay tails going.
Yeah. And
Nice.
that's and because that cleanup thing, I personally do here. If I'm using a volume pedal, I have it after the gain.
Yeah.
So I use it as a master volume, and you know, you can set, if you're really disciplined, you can set your solo level with the volume pedal full on, and then pull it back for doing rhythm parts and things. But you need to be really disciplined with that, because it's really hard to get that consistent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it does work. It does work.
And I believe there are volume pedals where you can set the maximum and the minimum as well, aren't there?
Yeah.
So if you had one that did that, but
yeah. So
Okay.
right. So that is you know, the three most common ways to use your volume pedal.
Now, just before we move along there, one issue that a lot of people have is playing, and whether it's the reverb in their amp, or the reverb from a pedal, or a delay from a pedal. You're playing with a clean sound and the delay is one thing. You step on your overdrive and then you get loads more delay. This is particularly true of people that use loops.
Yep.
Can a volume pedal help us there in any way, or is it just literally going to be turning stuff up and down and all it'll be is quieter?
So that again, if we're using a volume pedal in the loop of an amplifier, again, it depends. This is all about gain stages. So if we've got so like the 5E3s, the little tweeds we had before, a lot of that distortion is coming from the power amp section. Now let's say we have an effects loop there, right, between the preamp and the power amp,
which it doesn't have.
Assume that but let's say we can put one in there, right, and then we put a delay in that. Even if we have a volume pedal and we're decreasing the input from the preamp, it's still the power amp section that's overdriving. And when it's overdriving, it's compressing, right? It's taking the input signal, and then what's normally a lovely smooth sine wave is compressing. And if you think of a sine wave, where it would be, let's say, 50% up on the wave, and that would be 50% of the volume, and then we get to the top, and then that's maximum of the volume. With it compressed, where it hits 50%, because it's compressed and that's already hitting the top and bottom of our rails, that might be 100% volume, already. So in that situation, no, it won't really help us. However, if you still have headroom in your power amp stage, then yes, you can put a volume pedal in there, but it's
all depends where the loop is and what amp
exactly,
doesn't it? So there's no universal advice there.
Exactly. So you might, but think about it like this: if you've got if you're using the gain stage from your amp as your main overdrive, and you want to put a delay in the amp, a delay in the amp. What you might want to do is put a volume pedal. So go from the send of the amplifier into the volume pedal, out of the volume pedal into the input of the delay, then back into the amplifier, and then that will do exactly what we've just done.
Yeah.
With the volume pedal after the gain stage.
You're basically using the volume pedal as an expression pedal for level control on the delay at that point, aren't you?
You are, but it's still the level of everything.
Yeah.
We're not just changing the delay level, unless we had a mixer.
Okay, because it's taking all of the preamp.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for example, we've got the I will get it.
You got it right without even thinking about it earlier.
Yeah. I'm so proud of myself. The Hot Rod Deluxe. It's a version 3, not even a version 4. It's a version 3. Right. So, if we go to that one, for example, now we have a volume pedal set up in the loop of the amplifier. Okay. Now this is if I turn on the Rattler, for example, and that's just going. Okay, so let's try that, but let's try that with some preamp gain from the amplifier. So if we go to channel 2, so I'm not going to use any pedals.
Yeah.
So if we start with the volume pedal. Okay, so now we've got the preamp doing its thing, and we can safely assume that that's going to act just like a pedal You know, if we think of the pedals as preamps, so now the preamp, which is separated by the effects loop of the power amp, using the volume pedal will now turn the basically like a master volume.
It'll just get quieter.
Just get quieter.
It's got a vicious curve right on the end.
It does
have volume. It's like nothing, everything. So do you want to just do the thing where we put it into the front of the amp just to prove the point?
Sure.
Same pedal.
Same pedal. Yep.
Okay. So all I'm going to do while Dan does that is I'm just literally going to, I have to remember to put it back in a minute, of course. Is guitar in to the pedal, out of the pedal, into the front of the amp. Haven't changed anything else on the amp. So if I turn it back on now, you'll be hearing exactly the same thing you were 20 seconds ago.
So it functioned in exactly the same way as having the volume pedal before the Overdrive pedals. We're just using the preamp as the gain stage, and so pulling the volume pedal back simply reduced the amount of level going to the input of the gain stage, but because it's distorting and compressing, it's cleaning up before we have any real volume reduction.
Make sure I've wired that up right.
Beautiful.
Back into the clean channel.
Back.
We've put it before, we've put it after, and the net result is exactly the same as having the volume pedal on the board before and after.
There you go. Now, if you...
A bit of a rumbly tumbly today, Dan.
Did you have some lunch?
I did have some lunch, yeah.
Okay. So there is confusion around low impedance volume pedals and high impedance volume pedals and when that might be appropriate. So if you've got a high impedance volume pedal and you put that after, if you've got a buffered signal and it's always after a buffer, for example, what you'll find is you get, as you put the pedal forward, it's like nothing, it's all on, you know, and then, you know, the last 50%, 60% of the travel is just all on.
Yeah.
You know. So in that situation, having a lower impedance pedal, which means instead of a 500k pot, you might put a 50k pot there. But if you've got the buffers that are going to drive that, then you might get a better curve.
Yep.
On that, you know, on the travel itself, on the treadle. But because you've got the buffers driving that, then that 50k resistance basically disappears.
But if you put a 50k pot in between, if you put a 50k pot in there, you'd lose all your high end completely. Because there's nothing driving it.
Exactly. We need the guitar signal from here. I mean, it's so sensitive and it's so fragile, you know. So if you put a 50k pot after that, all your top end will be gone. That'll just leak everything from...
It's a snowflake, isn't it?
It is. It's a precious snowflake. Ooh! Okay, so that is... We've done volume pedal in the effects loop of the amplifier. We've done the 3 different positions of the volume pedal on a pedal board. But there is one last trick I want to show you. So when we're doing our gigs, I had my... our Space Echo set up.
I fear this is the way it's going to go with the Jazzmaster as well.
and it's just the most glorious sound. And I was working out a way to try and integrate that with the amplifier. And I've done it with the Lazy J, and I've done it using the Memory Man just to show that you can, you know, there's a number of different ways that you can do this, or a number of different pedals. The most important thing is that you can get a 100% wet signal on the delay pedal. All right, now to do this, what I'm showing you now, that's the most important thing. All right.
Right. So you need to remove all the dry sound from
sound from this delay pedal. Yep, from your delay pedal. That you
I didn't know that you could do that on that.
Well, the Merryman, you can dial up the mix all the way. So
right.
it might be 98%, but it's
enough.
Like, it's enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what's happening here. If I just to show, there's no delay on here. If I just play both amplifiers and I turn the pedal up. So on the Lazy J, the signal is coming out of the board. It's hitting the input of the Lazy J in the bright channel. But again, this is a 4-input amp. So you've got your 2 channels. You've got your normal channel and your bright channel. And you've got your high input and your low input. Now, you know that old trick where you put a patch lead between the channels?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
To join them.
So your guitar goes into the input.
Doesn't work in all amps, by the way. The channels have to be in phase.
Exactly, that's very important. But in this trick, they don't have to be in phase.
Really?
No, because we don't have any dry signal in the second.
Okay.
So, if you imagine that patch lead, so the signal goes into the amplifier, it comes out of the patch lead and then back into the channel. What we're going to do is we're going to extend that patch lead back to a delay pedal. We're going to get that delay pedal on 100% wet, and then the output of that delay is going to go into the volume pedal.
So you're basically creating an effects loop.
I am basically creating an effects loop.
That's very cool.
Right, in a 4-channel amplifier.
Now, people used to do that with plexis, didn't they? With something in there, I heard.
You can put, or tape delays and things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's blooming cool.
But now what's cool about this is, because I've got, so on the Lazy J, I've got my, and all those type of amplifiers where you've got a different level for the different channels. I've got a different level for my normal sound, and I have a different level for the wet sound that's coming in. Okay?
So what you're doing is you're blending the volume of the wet sound in.
Yes. So now what happens with this volume pedal...
Don't be confused, people. There will be diagrams.
They're diagrams.
You've probably seen them already.
Sorry, Simon. Diagrams.
Yeah, diagrams.
Okay, so the guitar signal is going straight to the amplifier. It's coming out. It's split from the amp. It's coming out into the volume pedal, into the delay pedal, out of the delay pedal into the volume pedal, and then this volume pedal is controlling how much signal is being set back into the original, the first channel.
Even I understand
right?
this, so you should as well.
Here we go. I really like it.
It's really cool.
The thing is...
Answer me the obvious quick... Sorry, the thing is...
Well, because I'm hitting the input of the amplifier with the signal that I want, I'm not going through the preamp of the Merryman or anything for my main sound.
So you're keeping your main sound...
Exactly as it is.
Purely, yeah. Okay.
Exactly as it is.
That partially answers the question I was going to ask, which is, how is that any different from having an expression pedal on the effect level? So, for example, if you have a delay pedal that can have an expression pedal, usually they can do a couple of functions. One is either to change the delay time, the other is to change the delay level. Mm-hmm. So you do exactly what you do there, except if you have a single channel amplifier.
Sure. So the
Or indeed, sorry, just another thing to just point out there. This is a dual channel amplifier where both channels can be on at the same time. That's not massively common.
Right.
So your modern channel switching amp can't do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're either into one channel or the other.
But if you've got an old Vox or an old Plexi or you know those sorts of things that have those
most
two channels,
4 input amps, isn't it?
Exactly. Like and the thing. So the Sovtech, for example.
Oh, that does it as well.
It has two. Right. So you've got two inputs, but it's only you don't have. There's not a high and low input. So in that situation, what you need to do is split the signal before it gets to the main input. And where one signal goes to the main input, the other split signal goes to the delay pedal, to the volume pedal, and that goes back to the second.
Okay.
Right? So as long as you've got two channels that can both be on at the same time, you can do this. Now, to answer your question, if you have a pedal that has, you can plug an expression pedal in and control the delay level, why would you do that? Well, you wouldn't necessarily do it then. The thing is, for like the old Memory Man, the old tape machines, and that sort of thing that doesn't give you that option to blend in.
Yeah.
I think this is why expression pedals with those sorts of things are so powerful. Because, in this scenario.
Yeah, so if you've got an MXR carbon copy or any of the other tremendously common delay pedals that don't have expression pedal control,
this is an option.
This is one way to do it.
Yeah.
If you've got an AC30, a Plexi, or a 4-input Fender.
Yeah. But they estimate,
Well, Deluxe reverbs, any AC30. I mean, it's common. Super reverbs.
There you go.
Twins.
Yep.
They're not uncommon, those amps.
There you go. So it's for me being able to use. So I had the tape delay set up doing this, and I did this. In all rehearsals, in actual fact, the tape delay broke like
tape delay
10 minutes before our last gig.
Do we know what's wrong with it yet?
No, I don't know. I've got to go and get it sorted out. However, having that level of control over, such an iconic, character-filled delay sound, and doing it with a Memory Man in this scenario, it is such an amazing sounding thing.
It's funny because as you brought it in, there was an increase in volume as well.
Sure.
Because there's more signal going, and you're using the preamp in there.
I guess. So now, if we have both delays on, okay. Now, in this scenario, the delay is going to be going. The echo system is going to be going to both the amplifiers.
So just to confirm what we heard last time, the Memory Man was only going to that amp.
That's right.
So it was wet dry.
That's right.
Yep.
But now the delayed signal, actually, and the reverb that's hitting the Lazy J is going to come back. It's going to hit the Memory Man.
Oh, wow.
And then go back through the volume pedal, and I'll control that. So with, none of that stuff going on, we just have the delay and reverb.
That is absolutely killer. Anyone, right, with a Bassman, a Twin, a Deluxe Reverb, or a Plexi, or any other amp with two channels that can work together should do that tomorrow.
It's great, isn't it?
It's absolutely brilliant. Because apart from the fact it sounds amazing, you've got total control.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
That's really... What a beautiful way to do wet dry as well.
Yeah. The other thing,
if you're using two amps,
the other thing that I do with this, so if I'm doing wet dry, and I'll have all my delays and everything going into my wet amplifier, but often I'll put this on the dry amp, and I'll just blend a little bit in on the dry amp when I want to do different delays on different sides. Yeah, it's such a it's very cool. I'm very, very pleased.
Totally mega. Okay.
You haven't played anything.
That's quite all right. What have we missed? What have we missed? What are the common questions about volume pedals? What value should the pot be? Where do I put it? How do I do swells? How do I turn my amp down? I think we've answered all those questions, haven't we?
What I am going to do, I tell you what I am going to do is I'm now going to put the active volume pedal in the loop.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll do the same thing that we did with the Rattler, and just see with the active volume pedal, are we still losing that top end?
Okay.
And that'll be the last thing we do.
You're basically going to replace the passive
volume pedal with the active volume pedal.
Yeah. So to answer that last question then, all we've done is we've swapped out the Boss One for the FX-17.
Yep.
Which is what, DOD or something?
This is an old DOD.
DOD. We hope DOD gets resurrected, by the way.
They had some cool stuff.
Yeah, what a great brand. Shouldn't just go to nothing. Anyway, moving on. So you've heard what it sounds like with the passive volume pedal.
Yep.
Here it is with an active one. Do you know what the pot volume is or pot value, or does it not matter now?
It doesn't matter with the active one.
Yeah.
So the buffer will drive that value. This is my guitar plugged into both amplifiers. As we had before, but have a listen what happens. There's no buffers there. As soon as I turn the buffer on, as soon as I connect the volume pedal.
Do that again.
That's just the sound of the buffer. All right,
because there is an amplifier, right? That's what a buffer is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So now, how does can you show me what the? Don't change anything on the pedal.
Yep.
Just turn the pedal on and off, and tell me what that does to your guitar sound.
Okay.
So it makes it louder, which fine, we might expect that. Would you mind just rolling your volume before we've even touched the volume pedal? What the effect of that buffer? I mean, this is a slight tangent, but it's interesting anyway.
Absolutely.
What the effect of the buffer is on Dan's volume control.
Sure. So. So the interesting thing about this is that even though that this is buffered, we need to remember that this buffer is coming after all of this cable.
Yeah.
All right. So if you think of how much, as I'm, as I'm rolling this back here, it's still the cable. It's not like we've got an active buffer right here.
No. But for the 2 seconds that we heard it, it was definitely brighter with the.
Oh, definitely.
With the pedal on.
Yeah, of course. Because without the pedal on, I'm still driving everything, all the way to the amplifiers.
Yeah.
So, typical, and that's what happens with the buffer. All right. Now let's see what happens with the Rattler. We haven't changed any of the settings.
Nope.
But as we did notice, having this in line, we have more volume. So there's a boost in here anyway.
And where is it now? Is it before or after the Rattler?
So right now it's before.
Okay.
Okay.
Groovy. I can't remember what it sounded like before, so a straight A/B, I can't remember. The video will tell us that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would have expected it to clean up better.
Yeah, it didn't.
It didn't at all. All right, because we've still got this cable. It's still loading here, you know. So let's hear the difference with the volume pedal before the Rattler. So I'll take the volume pedal completely out of the circuit. So this is just guitar into the Rattler. Because of the gain boost, there's a tiny increase in gain at the input of the Rattler. But, you know.
So knock it back a bit then and see if you can get it sounding exactly the same.
Okay. Even when it's at the same volume, there's a little
still
more,
hear
it's a bit more top end. Still hear that buffer hitting the front of it.
Yeah.
So and I think this is the reason why a lot of people like the passive volume pedal, because you don't get any of that.
Yeah.
So if you've got a buffered signal, for example, and you put that after your gain pedals, you're set. You know, you don't need the buffered volume pedal. But if you specifically want to put that at the front of everything, then I would suggest either a really high input impedance volume pedal, or have a look at a good buffered volume pedal. There's loads out there, but my favorite buffered volume pedal is the Lale. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Only Ball are big in that world, aren't they? Volume pedals.
Only Ball have a whole range of volume pedals.
Stuff. Dunlop.
From low impedance, high impedance, active. You know, Dunlop. There's a bunch out there.
Yeah.
The only question you need to answer is where you think you'd like to have it in the chain.
Yes. Where do you want it in the chain? What do you want it to do? And how much do you want it to affect the rest of the sound of your particularly overdrive pedals?
Yeah. But the Boss one, the FVH, I think is superb. Really like it. The other one we're using is the Dunlop
Mini Volume X.
The Mini Volume X,
which is really great because it can also function as and there's a couple of switches in it, and you can change the polarity of it and stuff. You can also use it as an expression pedal on pedals that need expression pedals.
Yes.
I was using it as the delay level on my Analog Man delay for a little while there.
Yep.
So it's very cool and it's very tiny.
Yeah, they're great.
Fits right in next to G2 on a Schmidt Array, SA
450,
whatever it is, the one I've got. Yeah.
Is it a 450? Is it
525.
525. There you go.
Yeah. About tea time.
I really enjoyed that.
Me too.
There's, hopefully, it'll get you thinking about some, maybe a different way to approach it. If you haven't used a volume pedal before, they're lots of fun. It can be very handy. Thank you so much to all of our patrons on Patreon. Without your support, guys, we literally couldn't do what we do.
Thank you.
Also, to everyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed a t-shirt or coasters or journals and
all that
pencils
stuff.
And strings, it's all there.
Buy some stuff. We sold loads of coasters after the Danish Pete episode.
Because they were on the table.
So
cool.
Thank you to everyone who bought one of those.
And to our preferred retailers, they are linked in the description below. They are in the UK and Europe.
Anderson's Music.
And in Australia.
Pedal Empire.
And in the US of A.
Riff City Guitar. Yeah, click the box down. You'll find all sorts of useful information in there, including timings on the show and links to those guys.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.